to move beneath my feet. I've been screaming from the top of the mountain, can you hear me? I will become to you what I am to me. I will become to you what I am to me. I will become to you what I am to me. What I am to me.
We're going where no roads were before. Wait, hold on. Bucky, you're so good at driving. Bucky, how did you learn how to drive a golf cart?
It's cool fun.
Wait! We're not gonna make this! Wait a second, hold on. Wicked Yankee TV.
Welcome to Wicked Yankee TV. Thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a great show this week.
As adventure journalists, we love to find fun experiences in the Northeast, like we just saw with the Slush Cup at Mount Sunapee.
That was wild, wasn't it?
Great.
For those of you who watch Wicked Yankee TV each week, you know that Tara and I have a tremendous knack for finding great stories and wonderful people.
But first, we're going to share an amazing video from our friends and partners at Red Bull.
Let's watch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What an amazing year it's been at Wicked Yankee TV. We've experienced more than we ever could have dreamed of.
And you know, the reason that Wicked Yankee TV works so well is because Tara and I come from completely different backgrounds. She comes from the world of academia, where she's a great researcher, and I come from the world of entertainment. But together we share the same philosophies and energies about bringing great stories means making the world a better place.
Little did we know the show would really take off and resonate with the viewers.
And you never know what you're going to see in the show, so enjoy.
I saw you from the beginning. You were clearly out of my league. You didn't look at where I was standing. I thought that we would never meet.
Wicked Yankee TV is proud to bring you stories we can all celebrate. The oral tradition of storytelling is not only an important part of our history, but the very fabric of who we are. This week brings us to the University of New Hampshire, where we met a remarkable woman, Professor of Anthropology Svetlana Peshkova. She moved here from a war-torn country so divided in a quest to find peace and joy through education and understanding. A champion of our different voices and knowledge. She is working to share the stories of those who have not been heard or understood. She is a woman making a difference. We're here at UNH in Durham, New Hampshire with Professor Svetlana Peshkova. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming here.
We're here today to discuss a unique learning experience that you have right here in the community. It's the New Hampshire Indigenous, hold on a second.
It's the Indigenous New Hampshire Collaborative Collective.
The Indigenous New Hampshire Collaborative Collective. Right? I got it. Okay. What's so exciting about this really is a true collective of people from all different walks of life joining together to learn. It's an active learning experience and an active teaching experience.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All of us are in some way students, and all of us are in some way teachers. And it is truly a very diverse group. That's why we've chosen the term collective, which means people who come from different, sometimes quite desperate walks of life get together to try to flesh out and bring to public's view Indigenous heritage of New Hampshire.
You're from a different part of the world, and you come to New England. What are some of the interesting things, maybe a misconception that you had that you didn't realize?
All right. So I grew up in the Soviet Union. Of course, in the Soviet Union, there were plenty of stereotypes about Native Americans, and they all came, believe it or not, from Westerns. That yes, that in the 80s I was able to see, you know, some of those spaghetti Westerns and whatnot. So it's interesting because I was in the Caucasus last summer, and I brought one of our tribal leaders, Denise Pulio. I brought her a gift, an Indian girl, a doll, hand-sewn Indian, that as a Native American from the Caucasus, the doll from the Caucasus, which was absolutely stereotypical with the black braids and feathers in the hair and beads on the neck. So I grew up with stereotypes, certainly, and it took me a while to confront some of those stereotypes. I was fortunate that I was able to get some education in that area while working on my PhD in sociocultural anthropology, but I know that I am not as fortunate as many people. And certainly moving to the state of New Hampshire and New England, I knew that there were Indigenous people here, certainly, but since there are no federally recognized tribes in the state of New Hampshire, and there are no reservations in the state of New Hampshire's settlements, it was really hard to sort of to come across or explore or meet Native American people here.
Hollywood, the most important medium since the development of cinema, had a pivotal role in shaping our thinking and perpetuating our stereotypes. Mel Brooks brilliantly mocked the absurdity of this, playing a Jewish Indian chief.
Schwarzes. No, seid nicht Meshuggah. Laws im Game!
Illustrating the film industry's ridiculous portrayal of Native Americans.
Kappa war, wie gesinnt. Take off. Hast du gesehen in deiner Leben? They darker than us.
Incredibly, the supposed heroes of the screen defy understanding, as seen here in 1915 with The Birth of a Nation. An important movie historically, both then and now, it is a stark reminder of how far our country has come. Hollywood understood the intrigue moviegoers had with the American Indians. The film industry played to their audiences, delightfully entertaining, with comedies such as Buster Keaton's movie, The Paleface. He is seen here orchestrating a raucous, whooping war dance. Another movie of the same name came out years later with another much-loved comedian, Bob Hope. Funny to many, it still perpetuated the stereotypes. With Charlton Heston leading the way in his movie The Savage, Hollywood further romanticized Native Americans as the country's top movie stars would vie for leading roles playing indigenous characters for box office gold. At the time, it may have simply been that Native American actors were not top draws, yet the audience still clamored for their stories. As we became more familiar with the Native American culture, our perspectives began to change. Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves changed the landscape forever. Suddenly, there was joy, laughter, understanding. We were finally communicating in a language we both understood, that of human nature. This movie freed us as a country from the bonds of our past narrative. This new social interaction and engagement enriched and enlightened, allowing us to celebrate our differences with humor, respect, and compassion. A movie that furthered this awareness for the majesty and scope of the Native American cultures is The Last of the Mohican. Here at Wicked Yankee TV, we seek out the authentic voices of the indigenous people and celebrate the shared spirituality of finding the wonder and goodness in others. After all, we're here to make the world a better place, to enjoy life, laughter, hope, and contribute to the dream of a better tomorrow.
Hi, we're here on the banks of the Merrimack River in Concord, New Hampshire with Denise and Paul Pulio. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Paul, tell the people all about yourself.
Why, hello. My name is Paul Pulio. I'm the Sugama of the Kawasuk Band, the Pennacook and Abnaki people. And my wife Denise is with me, and she's a Sugama squaw. The names represent the head female and male speakers. So when you hear Sugama and Sugama squaw, it means we're the head speakers for a particular band of Pennacook and Abnaki people. We're here today in Concord on the banks of the Merrimack, and behind us is the old village that we considered our capital of this area, which was called Pennacook. The Pennacook, it means the place of the falling rocks or falling debris that went down into the river. This is a major area for the Abnaki people. All the fields around us here were all of our planting gardens, which contained corn, beans, and squash, and Jerusalem artichokes. And then we only use that name today because they were actually sunflowers in our day. But the plants here were all part of our important foodways in agriculture. And if you look around the Merrimack, in this particular area, there are all kinds of fields like this, which we've identified as ancient planting areas that we used to use. And there's quite a few of them from here all the way up until the Tilton-Franklin area when it goes into the Winnipesaukee River. So this is a major agricultural and living area for our people. We believe that tens of thousands of us lived here before colonial contact.
Yeah. So New Hampshire Fish and Game actually adopted a lot of the practices that were in practice by the indigenous people.
Well, think about the foodways. The foodways were based on migratory fish. And we almost could predict within days when fish would be coming up the Merrimack, which is behind us, or the Pescado, or wherever it was. We could almost predict to a day when the fish would come here. So we practice like seasonal fish and game practices, which, see, the colonial people, when they were in Europe, it was very hard because they didn't really have control of the land or the forests themselves, because the kings and queens pretty much owned everything, and you were tenant farmers on these lands, so you couldn't just go out and hunt for ducks and geese and things like that. So as colonials arrived here, suddenly these burdens put on them of the royal people saying you can't do this or that, suddenly they had the opportunity to harvest whenever they wanted. But they watched what indigenous people did. We didn't take game meat like deer until the fall. And whereas the deer would be roaming around on these farms, and the farmers, the original colonial farmers, would probably just kill whatever they could spot right away. But we'd always say, no, you don't take that game until they go into this particular season between mating and the birth of the young ones. So all these things were practices that we had already observed for millennia. When to fish for certain fish, when to hunt for certain things, and ducks and passenger pigeons, which are now extinct. All of these things had a place in our foodways, and it was all managed, just like we managed the forest. These paths and roadways that you talk about, which formed all of the highway system for New Hampshire and New England for that matter, were based on us clearing and managing the forest. These cart paths that we created were almost big enough for most of the colonial first small carts. These became your highways and your byways. Now, when you look at that construct and you look at everything else that was going on, when it came back to the management of the forest, we actually cut and cleared. And this is a generational process where we clear these areas, and if we found we wanted an oak tree, I'll give you an example. We found places along the coast up in Maine, just over the border from New Hampshire, where we planted white oak variety trees that came from the Carolinas, because we actually tampered with nature to bring better nut-bearing trees into our environment. It's hard to believe that we did these things. We actually managed, the growth of these forests, and we actually brought in probably non-indigenous species because they were better for us. I mean, like a white oak versus a red oak is a big difference in whether you can eat the nut or not, the acorn.
Right.
You realize this was Eden. We call this absolute Eden. We had fish that ran from one season to the next, all the way to the tomcod, which were the last ones to migrate up, which came when the ice was just forming, to the first ones coming out, which are the smelt, which came out. We call them like, these are the winter fish on each extreme of the season. All these fish were available. American eel, the sturgeon, all these things people don't understand were major food resources. And by the way, some of these fish weren't the little salmon you find in the market today. Salmon were 40 pounds, maybe 50 pounds.
That's amazing.
And people can't wrap their heads around the fact that 12,000 years ago, 10 or 12,000, the glaciers were receding. And as it was receding, these rivulets and rivers were being formed. There were no fish inland until they migrated from the ocean. If you actually wrap your head around that, these fish that we now look at landlocked, like salmon and trout, were probably ocean-going species that eventually became landlocked.
Paul and Denise, by incorporating the practices of the indigenous people that have lived here, understand the nature, people that are like at New Hampshire Fish and Game are taking what you have been doing for centuries and incorporating that to create a healthier wildlife population, to create healthier forests. It's amazing. Hi, we're here in Concord, New Hampshire with Jessica Carloni. She is the waterfowl biologist for the New Hampshire Fish and Game. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, we know that it is the biologists that are the backbone of the New Hampshire Fish and Game, right?
Yeah.
Without you guys, it's so exciting to realize that you are right there in the field protecting and keeping tabs on all these unique species that we have right here in New Hampshire.
Yes, all of our biologists really love to be outside, and we all really have a passion for the outdoors and wildlife, as do basically everybody that works at Fish and Game. It's really a team effort. Everybody loves wildlife.
Finally, Jessica, it's springtime. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So when can everybody expect these beautiful birds to be gracing our waterways?
Yeah, so you can see wood ducks right now. They've started to move in. They're one of the first ones to leave in the fall and one of the first ones to come back. So I've seen tons of wood ducks, and Canada geese are back.
Where do they go?
Yeah, so they go down south where it's warmer. They don't like the snow. And then they come back up here in about February, March, depending on the weather again.
Okay, and those are the ones that are the cavity nesters, right?
The wood ducks are.
Right,
yeah.
and so the ones that stay here, the Canadian geese, do they stay here all winter long?
So we have migratory populations of Canada geese and resident populations of Canada geese, so it gets a little tricky. The resident birds don't really migrate in the traditional form of migration.
As the waterfowl biologist for New Hampshire, what are some of the concerns that our viewers might not know about the duck population?
Yeah, so a lot of our waterfowl populations are healthy right now. Wood ducks are increasing, Canada geese are doing fine, resident Canada geese are doing fine, but we are concerned about the mallard population. Their numbers have been declining, and so in the 2019-2020 fall hunting season, it's going to have a reduced bag limit down to 2 birds in order to protect that breeding population and sort of decrease the hunting pressure on them a little.
Okay, Jessica, the Canada geese, some migrate and then some stay here?
Yeah, so we have different populations of Canada geese in New Hampshire. There's the resident population, which you'll see the ones with little chicks around here in the summertime. They don't really migrate in the traditional sense of migration, like our fall migrating Canada geese do. They may, depending on the severity of the winter, they may go a little further south in Massachusetts, but for the most part, they're year-round residents in New Hampshire.
And Jessica, you say, they're not Canadian, they're Canada.
Yes.
Sorry.
Don't say Canadian geese.
It's Canada geese.
Canada.
Jessica, I think there's a misconception about how hunters are perceived with wildlife. People get very concerned. They think they're decimating the populations. But in truth, that's not really how it is, right?
No. So all of our regulations are really set up where, you know, we can harvest some of the population but still keep the population intact.
Right.
And so hunters just, you know, want to be part of the landscape and get out in the outdoors and get back to their roots and supply food for their family. And so they've also contributed a lot to land conservation, more than any other group really. So they've really done a lot for wildlife.
Yeah, so it's actually the hunters, along with New Hampshire biologists and people that are concerned with conservation, but the hunters have been great stewards of the duck populations, and I think that we should not vilify them, but we should encourage anybody in any aspect of conservation and preserving these populations. They're beautiful animals.
Definitely.
And we want to have them for generations to come.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Jessica, for joining Bucky and me with Wicked Yankee TV.
Definitely.
We really salute the work that the New Hampshire biologists are doing to protect and preserve the wild populations of animals in the state.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
When your soul is lonely, sad and blue, ain't got no loving shoulders to lean on, there's always a sunny side across the river. Take a ride, take a swim, and all your worries go away. Go cross the river and you'll be fine. Go counting winners, it's right down the line. You'll be alright on the sunny side.
Hi, I'm Mike Gelches. I'm the president of the Elkins Fish and Game Club, and we're out here today. We're going to be talking about wood ducks and wood duck boxes. And this is one of our older boxes, and what you can see here is that the side has been taken off so you can see the interior of the box. A typical box is basically about 12 by 12. The interior has screening so that when the little ones hatch out, they have a way to climb up the side to get out. We use this type of material, and it's not sawdust, it's actually wood shavings. Sawdust would get into the lungs of the birds, and that would be a bad thing. So we use wood shavings, and that's their packing material. But wood ducks are unique in that they have claws on their webbed feet so that they can actually stay in branches. So it's kind of a neat feature for the
I didn't realize that.
wood ducks.
That's very, very cool.
Oh yeah, they're a beautiful bird, beautiful coloration.
Oh, no.
They are what they eat, if you will. So they like to eat nuts and berries and things like that. They do eat some other things out of the water as far as fish and such.
Thank you so much, Mike, for joining Bucky and me with Wicked Yankee TV. I think this is a great example of stewardship and conservation in New Hampshire, right here on Messer Pond, and we are looking forward to a wonderful wood duck season.
Thank you.
Well, it has been a great show. Thank you so much, Paul Pulio, the Sagamo, and Denise Pulio, the Sagamo Squaw. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you so much. We've had a great time today at Wicked Yankee TV, learning all about the indigenous people of the Northeast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oli Bumpkini.
Oli Bumpkini.
Travel well.
Travel well.